This is the Todd Shapiro Show on Canada Talks, SiriusXM 167.
You want some fun distractions. You want to distract from all the BS. You want to go out, you want to watch some sports, and you want to create your best teams possible and bet and not listen to anybody and live in your own little wonderful, beautiful space of having fun and living vicariously through the sports stars you wish you could be. And this is what Drafters.com provides for you. And I like Zach Zaret, and I like this. He's a young guy who's created an amazing program. Hey, Zach.
Todd, how you doing? Thanks for having me.
Dude, great talking to you, man. Drafters.com, we've learned, because we've had some wonderful influencers who are really into daily fantasy sports, love this platform for your daily fantasy sports users. You're the creator of this thing. Tell me why, how old are you, first off, Zach?
I'm 26 years old.
26 years old. So you, young guy, I mean, it's not easy to write code and write programs and get teams to help put this together. When did you start this project?
So we actually started it toward the end of my fourth year at university at Western. Me and one of my best friends, we were just shooting ideas of how to make a better daily fantasy sports platform. And there were so many little things so many different ideas and formats and features that, we really wanted to go ahead and make a platform. And we started developing it, and we released our first version last football season, and it's just been growing ever since. Great
to hear, dude. And, it's so entrepreneurial, really. That do you ever look back at yourself and go, pretty neat, man? Like, I'm a young guy. A lot of people trying to find their place in life, women or men, obviously, and, figuring out what their passion is. And here you are creating an amazing network that speaks to your passion, and obviously through hard work too. But it's quite an accomplishment. Do you feel good about it?
Yeah, well, definitely. I appreciate that. How do I elaborate? I'm doing what I love to do every day, working with a great team, and I love fantasy sports, so it's definitely the industry I want to be in.
And what's the feeling on, other than the individuals that we've spoken to who love your platform, and what's the overall feeling about what you've created for them in Drafters.com?
Yeah, our site's all about drafting. When you ask most people what their favorite part of fantasy sports is, in their season-long league, it's the draft. And our site's all about drafting. We allow people to draft every day. We've got a variety of different formats. We've got, you can go head-to-head against one friend, or you can join a public league. We've got tournaments. So we've got a wide variety.
Good to hear, man. And, your unique different platforms that you allow users to use, or I guess the unique different games, really, that are disruptive from some, let's be honest, the very big players like the FanDuels and the DraftKings and stuff. Snake drafts and rank 'em drafts. Why don't you sort of explain that to those listening, and what makes that a little bit more, in my opinion, not just unique, but usable, really for the average individual who just wants to have some fun on a weekend or an NBA game.
Yeah, for sure. So Drafters, it's a snake draft. So you're taking turns picking players, and once that player's been chosen, they're off the board. Whereas the games you'll find on FanDuel and DraftKings, it's a salary cap format. So, it's more like filling out a lottery ticket. You're doing it on your own, and you're picking your team. And, in theory, everyone can pick the same players. You're kind of just filling it out, submitting your ticket. Whereas on Drafters, you're actually doing a live draft, picking your players, and, you feel a little more ownership of the guys who you're picking, because your opponents don't have the same players.
And is that, is that easy to do?
Yeah, it's super easy. The drafts are quick. Most drafts take between 3 and 5 minutes. Some take a little longer, depending on how many people are in it. But the drafts are super quick. And another major difference when you're doing a snake draft versus a salary cap format is, in a snake draft, let's say, it's 5 people in the draft, you're picking 10 players. You're really only looking at the top 50 players in the league compared to if you're doing the salary cap where every single player in the league might be relevant based on their salary. So, you might be picking out of 500 players. And most more casual sports fans would know the top, 10 players, top 20 players, 50 players, and, as opposed to every single player in the league.
We're with Zach Zaret, one of the founders and CEOs of drafters.com. How big, the market in general, there might be people listening to us going, my goodness, is this, daily fantasy sports really a big deal? Are people really doing this? How big is the market?
Yeah, the market's huge. The Fantasy Sports Trade Association has it at over 60 million players in North America who play fantasy sports. So it's definitely a huge space, and that's, tons of people play season long, and then there's, daily fantasy sports. And sometimes when you say, have you ever played fantasy, ask someone if you've ever played fantasy sports, they say no. And then if you say, well, have you ever been in a football pool or a hockey pool? They say, yeah. So some people don't even realize that they're playing fantasy sports, but, any kind of hockey pool or, football pool, that's what it is. So.
And are there demographics? More men than women? Are there certain age groups? Is it sort of across the board?
Yeah, it's definitely a huge, very across the board. 20% female, and there's kids playing for free, and there's adults playing for money, all the way up to 80 years old. So we've got a very wide variety of players on Drafters.
Really interesting stuff. And then you also have made it easier by helping sort of substitute players if they get injured, because, I think the big fear, from what I understand anyway, in daily fantasy sports is I don't have the time to keep up with everything going on.
Yeah, we've definitely tried to make that easier to play, less time consuming. We've built in automated tools, which will, if one of your players is a game time decision and he's not playing that day, we're going to automatically take them out at game time and replace them with the next best available player. We've also have all the players organized by their rankings. So all the top ranked players are going to be up at the top, making it really easy to find who you're looking for. Yeah.
Could you go to drafters.com just to find out stats on players?
Yeah, all the stats are in the draft. So if you click on any player, you can see all their game logs. So you can see all their recent games with how they did. You can also see their career stats and all the recent news.
That's pretty amazing to me. You think about just how intricate the program is. Available on the App Store too. And listen, I know this because we do some brand strategy and stuff away from everything, but that's a process in itself that a lot of people wouldn't realize. Just getting sort of your program and your platform that's online listed onto the Apple Store. That's quite intricate. How does that work for you, Zach?
Yeah. So. How to get it on the App Store is the question?
Basically, yeah. Thanks.
Wait,
are you taking over my show now too? You little whiz kid, is that what you're doing?
with a gaming app, it takes a little bit more. You definitely have to submit a bit, legal opinions and a bit more stringent background checks. But we applied for the App Store, and it is a bit of a process, especially getting payment processing. And some other key things like that. Definitely a process.
Is it safe to say, though, that when you're on in the App Store within the Apple network, that it really does legitimize the business, and it is kind of like this stringent process as you're talking about?
Yeah, I think definitely people want to have an app as opposed to going to a website. So it's definitely a major step for us to have our app now in the App Store. And, a lot of people, they want to play with an app, and some of them won't even play without it. But that's just expected nowadays.
Zach Zaret is with us. How much? I mean, the coding aspect and the programming aspect, that's something I don't understand at all, Zach. And by the way, I sort of joke with my wife all the time. I'm like, she's like, your kid should go, our kid should go on a French immersion. I'm like, no, French immersion shouldn't even exist. They should have a coding immersion. That's what I want them to do. How much of that is sort of not only within your app and within drafters.com and your day to day, but how much of that is really kind of, because you're a computer guy, you get all this stuff, kind of so important for this new world, this new day and age to function?
100%. I mean, I wish that I took more coding classes, growing up. I mean, I've learned a lot. I mean, I'm personally not one of the full developers on the platform. We've got a great team of developers. But yeah, I wish that I started learning how to code when I was 5 years old and could code up anything I wanted, in all the different languages. But yeah, I mean, I've learned a ton working with our team, and yeah, it's as complex as you think it is from the outside. When you dive in, it gets even crazier. Just the amount of different coding languages and different, everything has to be different for each different browser and each different, mobile device. It's deep.
Do you think that it's the responsibility, a little bit away from drafters right now, but just from your understanding of all this stuff, that it's sort of the responsibility of individuals to understand a little bit more about all the devices and all the different programs and all the different apps and things that we're using? Or is it, and that's sort of, again, it's a little bit away from drafters, but, or does it matter? You just kind of like, you just pick it up and you go and you have some fun with it.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's just, I mean, from a user perspective, you just find platform, whatever device you're on, and it shouldn't make a difference. It should be seamless from the user perspective.
And that makes sense, because as I'm asking the question, I'm like, hey, I've been driving since I was 16 years old, so 30 years. I've never really understood. I could tell you kind of how an engine works, but I could never build it. So kind of the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Drafters.com. And then where can people see some more about what you're doing?
Yeah, so if you just go to drafters.com, we've got our landing page, which explains a lot about the site. And if you just sign up, you get a first-time deposit bonus. If you're over 18 and you're in a place where you're able to play, you get a first-time deposit bonus. And all the formats are explained on the site, but they're almost self-explanatory. They're super simple, and it's a snake draft. So a lot of people have played it it's just like your season-long draft. And yeah, it pretty much walks you through it.
I love it, dude. I mean, I love the story, and again, full disclosure, we've worked together away from this, and but I love inspirational stories, meaning a hardworking young guy who's put this platform together with his partner, and they've done this through consistent work, consistent evolution, listening to their users, growing and adapting to be disruptive and to take market share away from some of the big guys. And this is the type of stuff, to me, that is really important in life, because there's a lot of people kind of wasting it on, just flipping through this and doing through that. And it's hard work and it's work ethic. And I always tell people, support those that are working so hard. And by the way, if you're sitting there going and playing some daily fantasy sports, anyway, why not support a great Canadian company? And the other thing is too, and this is one thing I can tell you concretely, is have great odds to win, because some of these other platforms are, and if you read up into them, there's a lot of big guys and professional guys that are sort of manipulating the bigger audiences and knowing how to win in those things. Whereas Drafters gives you kind of, and this is my personal anecdote on this, I don't know if Zach's endorsing this, but gives you an opportunity. And I know that because I won a pool on Drafters.
100%. Definitely better chances to win in the snake draft compared to the salary cap format, where you're up against people with computerized lineup optimizers and entering 150 times. Much better chances to win on Drafters.
My last question, let's just start with actually any league, and someone that pops to mind. Who's the best performing player this year that it just pops in your mind? Going, my God, that guy, this person's having a real good season.
Well, Christian McCaffrey, the number one player in fantasy, I'm lucky enough to have him in my personal auction pool, but he's just been absolutely dominating. And if you got him in your season long, I'm sure you're doing well.
Very cool, dude.
He's like a number one wide receiver and a number one running back put into one.
Unreal. And there's always these neat little surprises, which sort of gives everyone a fair shake at it too, because you never know, right? A lot of it, there is some kind of luck.
Definitely on a day-to-day basis. There's definitely things out of your control. But in the long run, putting in the research and looking into the stats a little extra definitely pays off.
Zach, it's really interesting where this world is right now, and I like to open up the eyes to individuals who might not understand emerging markets, and really a market that's far exceeded emerging. I mean, this is taking part in almost everyone's life one way or the other, and people love sports and people love having fun with their sports, and that's what you provided them. Thank you so much for your time. We appreciate all your hard work, and we can't wait to have you back on the program.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Thanks for having me, Todd.
Cheers, dude. Zach Zaret from drafters.com.
This is the Todd Shapiro Show on Canada Talks, SiriusXM 167.